This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there, live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, well, you know what? You've asked for them. You've almost begged for them in this crazy environment we have in April of 2020. But we're bringing you a fresh installment of Wrestling Insiders with a twist. We're not here in the studio. We tried to bring the man down from Maine, but Governor Charlie Baker said now is not the time, so we tried to put technology to use. And we're going to do it podcast style with my partner in crime, the WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Tony, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm still kicking, and the moon is still coming up. And you ever hear the old saying, tall, dark, and handsome?
Yes.
I got one of them.
Well, all right. That's what Linda Maratti's mother used to say about me, but that's a different story for a different
I used to
time.
have two. I used to have two, but being 6'2" is not tall no more.
All right. Well, neither am I then, I guess. All right, Tony, you're up there in Lewiston, Maine, enjoying the ambiance of this.
Auburn,
I
Maine.
apologize. You're near Lewiston.
Twin City.
You were telling me before we started to record you're enjoying a cold one up there, courtesy of Rupert's Liquor.
Yeah, when they
99
got
cents.
a Rupert's up here, and Rupert's is all over the state of Maine. I mean, the guy started with one store, and I know right here in the Lewiston, Auburn area, he probably got about 5 stores, and he's very reasonable.
Rupert's Liquor is a chain. Okay.
Yeah, and he's very good, a good community person.
Mm-hmm.
He sponsors Special Olympics. He sponsors a couple of my benefit shows, and they're very generous people, and they're the type of people that gives back to the community. So he's not just a taker, he's also a giver.
Well, I guess in these circumstances, if you're in I don't think we'd call them viewers, I guess we'd call them listeners. If you're near a Rupert's Liquor, tell them that WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas sent you. Tony's enjoying a 24-ounce beer. You said that cost you 99 cents, Tony. That sounds like a hell of a deal. What brand of beer do you get for that?
It's called Milwaukee Best Lager.
Milwaukee's Best Lager. You got 24 ounces of that for
not lagers.
Lagers?
Yeah, lagers like a log.
Oh, like a log.
Yeah, log, L-O-G.
I've never heard of that brand. That's probably why 24 ounces was 99 cents.
Yeah, but 24 ounce, baby.
Still
and
goes,
it's good, nice and cold. I'm going to have a sip in a few minutes.
It goes down the same way no matter what, right, Tony?
And come out the same way.
There you go. Well, we know that. I've heard that many times during phone conversations. But, Tony, we were going to discuss the activities, happenings in the world right now. I don't think it's a secret to anyone what the world is going through. But before we went on the air, Tony, what a day in the world of professional wrestling. Some 20-odd talents released by WWE and 9 what they call nowadays producers, a.k.a. agents from back in your day, Tony. It's been like a massacre in and of itself in WWE for these great talents.
What's new?
Well, all right, let's run through the list, Tony, for those that may not have heard it. I know you've been working on the phone all day talking to your sources up there while you've been having your old Milwaukee lagers, but WWE Hall of Famer Kurt Angle, Luke Gallows, Carlos Anderson, Rusev, Eric Rowan, Leo Rush, EC3, Kurt Hawkins, Drake Maverick, Eric Young, Heath Slater, Aiden English, Sarah Logan, Primo and Epico Colon, Mike and Maria Kanellis, Zack Ryder, No Way Jose on the wrestling front. Then you had referee Mike Chioda, who I think has been there so long. He was probably there for 2 or 3 of your WWE stints. Yeah. And then on the agent side, Finlay, Mike Rotundo, Billy Kidman, Scott Armstrong, Pat Buck, who I believe just started with them, Sean Daivari, Sarah Stone, Hurricane Helms, Shane Helms, and Lance Storm, who I also believe just started with them. So, Tony, that's a heck of a lot of talent taken off the payroll in one day down in Stamford, Connecticut.
Well, this is what I learned when I was there in 2008, and then I traveled a lot with Teddy Long.
Yes.
And Teddy Long used to always tell me he used to get nervous right around WrestleMania time.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I asked Teddy, and I said, why every WrestleMania, you get nervous? Because he told me to get nervous during WrestleMania. What is, after Vince get WrestleMania set,
mm-hmm.
he make a list of everybody he going to dispose of.
Mm-hmm.
And Teddy used to say, I wonder how many people is walking around here right now at WrestleMania that is already fired. If you ever notice, Vince always release a lot of people right about WrestleMania time.
That was almost like a reoccurring theme for a long time. It had subsided in recent years when they were worried talent might go to AEW when that group popped up, but lo and behold, again this year, right after WrestleMania, as you just noted, we have the greatest one-day slaughter of a roster, I think, probably in the history of the industry.
Yep. But he does that every year.
Well, he hasn't done it in a few years because, like I said, they were worried the talent may sneak off to other promotions, and they held on to them, many of whom received substantial raises, which is another reason I think we saw so many talents cut today. Where are these talents going to go? No one's running live events. They don't have that revenue coming in right now. There's only so many bodies AEW can put on their television show on Wednesday nights. Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor really isn't much of a blip on the radar scale in 2020, even before the coronavirus outbreak. So you have a lot of great talent right now getting the pink slip with really nowhere to go right now, Tony. Even the independents, which were flourishing, which I attest to the great work that Triple H has done with NXT ever since NXT became a success on WWE Network. Fans kind of opened their eyes that independent wrestling wasn't something to laugh at, but it was something they could really enjoy. And probably the past 3 or 4 years, the independents have really been doing good again. But these wrestlers right now, until we figure out what's going on in the world, they really don't have anywhere to go, Tony. You know the feeling yourself.
Well, you're talking to one of the people that is to blame for that.
Who?
Tony Atlas, Dusty Rhodes, just about every wrestler out of the 70s and 80s are responsible for that. I would say the only wrestler that is not responsible is Ric Flair and Sting.
And why do you say that? I'm a little confused.
Okay. Junkyard Dog was in Louisiana, him and Ted DiBiase. Mm-hmm. They were selling out everywhere. Then this is the dog was making good money. I mean, he was a nobody until Vince came and got him.
Whoa. Junkyard Dog was a nobody until Vince came and got him?
Until Bill Watts got a hold of him, yes.
Well, let's just clarify. JYD was selling out the Superdome when he was working for Bill Watts long before he went to WWE.
That's what I just said. I thought
you said before he was a nobody until he went to Vince.
No. Until he went with Bill Watts down in Mid-South.
My ears must have corona. I'm sorry.
Right, because what he was doing, he was bouncing around because I was on a car with him several times down. He used to work for Nick Goulis.
In Tennessee.
In Tennessee, Nick Goulis had to dress up like a pimp or something, calling Big Daddy something,
Big Daddy Ritter, I believe.
Yeah, Big Daddy Ritter, man. He used to come out with a pimp hat and all this and that stuff and all that. And he was never, I'm not knocking him. He's a great guy. He's a great draw. But there was a lot of guys that couldn't perform, was not a good, called good wrestlers, but good worker, however you want to put it. But still, they was able to make money because they had something about them that people just like seeing.
Great personality and great charisma, right?
And great charisma. He had that same stuff like, Dusty Rhodes had that. A lot of guys just had that certain thing about him.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rey Mysterio. He's not a big guy or nothing, and there's a lot of guys that could do what he do in the ring, but there's just something about Rey Mysterio. He got that charisma. Hulk Hogan is I would say, is the best example of what I'm talking about. But anyway, make a long story short, Dog was making the top money. I mean, back in the day, he was making anywhere between $2,500 to $4,000. Sometimes the average was around $2,500 to $3,000 per week, and you're home every night.
Wow. Bill
Watts bought Dog. If you ever talk to Watts, he told you the same thing. He bought Dog a Mercedes-Benz 450, not the little one. I'm talking about the big deal. Yeah, the real deal. Right. He helped his wife get her own beauty shop and everything. So he did everything for Ted and Dog at that time. Vince made one phone call. Dog was gone.
Do you think he made the right choice?
Well, that's just one of the examples. There was many examples, but this is just one of them. Vince, when Dog went to work for Vince, guess who was on the card every time Vince went to Louisiana or Oklahoma? Guess who was on the card?
Oh, JYD, obviously.
JYD. So he used Dog to destroy the territory that built him. He did the same thing. I don't know if people know this or not because they didn't write much about it. I think Vern was just so pissed off he didn't talk about it much. But me and Jumpin' Jim Bronzell, we was the AWA tag team champion. We beat the War Warriors for Animal and Hawk in Vegas at the Showboat. Now I was the champion when I walked out on Vern.
I don't think they ever recognized it, Tony. That's how they wanted to sweep it under the rug as if it never happened almost.
Right. They were just that pissed off about it. But we never lost the title. So me and Jim Bronzell, we were talking about it the other day. We never even lost the title. They didn't even put it in the book that I was AWA champion with Jumpin' Jim Bronzell.
So are you trying to say that in 2020 you're still one half of the AWA tag team champions now?
We never lost the title. We never lost the title.
Well, I'll tell you, if you never lost it, it's still yours then,
We never lost it because what I was supposed to do, Vince told me he wanted me to come there to go on a trip to Africa.
Right.
But then when I got there, he gave me a one-way ticket to Toronto, Canada, where we were doing TV that day.
Right. And
I asked him for the rest of my ticket, the information. He said, Tony, it was my understanding that when you accept the Africa trip, you also accept to come back and work for us. See?
So you were a little confused at that point.
And he did the same thing with Hogan. If you look at Hogan under Vince Sr. with WWF, we were 3W, Hogan didn't beat nobody. Backlund beat him. I beat him. And he was over. He was over. If you watch the tape real closely in the Spectrum, when I wrestled Hulk Hogan, half of the audience were cheering for Hogan. The other half of the audience were cheering for me.
I think they knew during that first run when he was a heel managed by Freddie Blassie, there were going to be big things to come for him. But he didn't have that big push as he did during the second run. No.
I don't think so because I was sitting in the dressing room there, and I used to get in so much trouble because I was always the last one in the garden, and they tell me to go no more than 5 or 6 minutes. I go for 15. I got chewed out a lot of nights for that. I remember when Vince Sr. came in one time, and Hogan standing right there beside me. He said, Tony, what are you going to do with the big dummy tonight? I don't think so, but I was there when Hogan was there. They didn't treat him all that good. I'm telling you, Slipper beat him, Backlund beat him. And they did the same thing to, believe it or not, they did it to, Hogan was in Georgia first. And Tommy Wildfire Rich tried to help Hogan by working a program with me, and Ole Anderson said, "Oh, he did. We don't need that guy. He would never be anything in this business." That what Ole Anderson was the booker of Georgia Championship Wrestling back in 78, 79 when Hogan first came before he went to Vince. And then I met Hogan again when I went to WWE. He got there before I did.
Were you a believer in Hogan early on or no?
I always liked him. I mean, we went to the gym together. We trained together. I mean, he had size, he had height, he had look. And me and Tommy, we went to Ole. And Tommy was the one that really did the talking. You know, I'm in Georgia, and I'm black. So, you know, I'm not trying to play the race card, but it is what it is. You know, I knew, you know, to be seen, not here, and try to go in the office. That's when I started getting in trouble. I forgot that I was black, and I started talking like them white guys did. I got my ass all type of trouble.
But when you met Hogan in the early 70s, did you think he would become perhaps a main event star? Did you see him becoming the household name that he became?
Well, I figured he was going to be big in the business because, I mean, there was very few guys. You know, they love guys like that in this business. I mean, every big man that ever been in the business made money. John Studd, Blackjack Mulligan, Blackjack Lanzer. I mean, Angela Mosca, because that's what they wanted, because they was impressive. See, in the olden days, you saw the wrestlers all the time. You know, it wasn't like it is today where you people, you know, John Cena lived in Massachusetts and you won't see John Cena.
Right.
In the older days, if a wrestler lived in Atlanta, Georgia, you saw that wrestler all the time.
Right.
And the guys went out all the time to nightclubs. I mean, if you want to party, you had to go to a nightclub. You had to go places. Everything was done on the road. So we drove, and they all knew little restaurant to stop at. They all, and like my first day in the business, the guy said, took me to Charlotte. He said, Tony, this is where, I can't remember the name of the hotel. He said, but this is where all the boys stay. Mm-hmm. So they had particular hotels that they stayed at all the time. In Pittsburgh, I remember it was the Holiday Inn by the airport. Mm-hmm. And all the fans knew that. All the fans knew where we stayed. They knew our schedule. I mean, because I'll give you an example. In Georgia, on Monday, it was Augusta, Georgia. On Tuesday, it was Macon, Georgia. On Wednesday, it was Columbus. And then on Thursday, it was what they called a spot show, which was either Rome, Georgia, or Athens, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And then on Friday was Atlanta, Georgia, where we did, it used to be the Atlanta City Auditorium. And then Saturday we did TV. We did TV both in Atlanta at TBS with Ted Turner, and we had to drive to Columbus, Georgia, which was about 100 miles away, and do TV there because the TV didn't reach all of Georgia. You see what I'm saying?
Yep. So you had two TV shoots in one day. Wow.
Right. Yeah, we did 2 TVs in one day. And then normally Sunday, they may have a big show that they've been promoting for probably about 2 months, maybe like in Marietta, Georgia. Marietta, where all the money used to be at back in the day, you know. That's where all the riches used to live back in the 70s. But anyway, but sometime on Sunday, you were just off. So, but this was an everyday schedule. Nothing changed. Like we ran the Madison Square Garden every first Monday of the month.
Well,
when you look at all the garden shows on the WWE before Junior now, this before Junior, you look at all the shows. Well, I bet what people never knows about, it was all on Monday night. They never ran the garden on any other night but Monday.
Yeah, for a long time, it was Mondays for MSG, every 3 weeks.
Monday night. And they had their own TV, too. Yeah. Vince did it. He did it because it was on TV all over. People watched the Madison Square Garden TV.
All right. Well, Tony.
Because they air everything that happened. The boxing, they air it. Basketball, they air it. Wrestling.
On the MSG network.
That's right. And that's the reason why I say what is happening with the wrestlers today. Get back to back to your story, so I don't lose you and the people. But I had to tell you this, so y'all can understand what I'm gonna say now. They used Hogan to put the Vern out of business. So the reason Vince did that because the wrestlers used to have some say so, and Vince didn't want to fire you even though you were screwing up because he knew you had another place to go.
Right.
You see? And so he would pay you more money to do jobs in his territory than to be a champion in another territory. So after all the promotion was out of business, then that gave Vince total control. See, when wrestling first started, when I first broke into business, the promoter didn't run the show. The wrestlers did. The promoter job was just getting the wrestler booked. These guys got together and they got these promoters to go and get them booked to set up billings and stuff like that. But the promoter had nothing to do with who won, who lost. That was all up to the wrestlers. Mm-hmm. Because the guy used to come to me and say, Tony, they want you to do a favor to you. Well, back in my day, some of these old timers, they said, no, just like a guy like Missouri Mauler one day didn't want to put me over. I got so mad that I walked back, I hit the door and broke my hand.
Really?
Yeah, I broke my hand because he wouldn't lay down for me. A lot of guys would say, if the kid want this match, you have to take it. Like I told you, the last match like that I have seen was Backlund and the Sheik. But they had a lot of wrestlers once they put the belt. Ed Strangler Lewis was like that. Once they put that belt on, the biggest problem, a lot of the promoters was how you going to get it off of them. Yeah. That's why all the champions had to know a little something about shooting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what he did, he used all the wrestlers to destroy other territory, and then when he was done with them wrestlers, he got rid of them. Think about it. After Dog left and Bill went out of business, what happened with J. Rod D?
He went down in a hurry. He was gone by the end of '88 from WWF.
And when did Bill Watts go out of business?
'87. He sold the NWO Crockett. Yeah.
He didn't need Dog no more. Dog Derby and Dog purpose was to put Bill out of business.
Well,
and Hogan was smart to that deal. Hogan was smart to it. That's why Hogan was always one step ahead of Vince.
Mm-hmm.
That always he's very intelligent. So what Hogan did, Hogan took it left and went to WCW.
Yeah.
Before they started doing that stuff to him, because he knew.
Well, I think that time was going to come in WWF.
He saw it happen to Bret Hart. He saw it happen to Winnie Richter. He saw it happen to. It really started back with what's his name, Buddy Rogers, when they did the quick thing there with him and Bruno
back in '63.
Oh yeah, they had Bruno to shoot on this guy. Did you know that Bruno broke 3 ribs?
Well, he was a strong man.
Well, what they told, this is what they did. They went and told Bruno. They said that Buddy Rogers, Bruno was young in the business then. He didn't know much about the business. He was a young, strong, but he was over. Mm-hmm. But he was not a veteran, kind of like Buddy Rogers was. So they told Buddy Rogers that they were going to suck up, that he was going to double cross and sucker punch, and do something to Bruno in the ring. And they told Bruno, as soon as you get there, just grab it, put him in that bag over and squeeze as hard as you can. But Bruno, no, buddy, grabbed his back, nearly broke his back.
And from what I remember, that match only lasted seconds.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Because they were they was afraid that Buddy Rogers was going to not do what they were going to do. And then you saw it again with Bret Hart and who was that with Bret spit in Vince's face? Shawn Michaels. You saw it with Randy Richter and Moolah.
Yeah.
You know, and he had a hack of doing stuff like that. And he would promise you the world. He would promise you the world. And once you do it, you would hang around for about 5 or 6 months, and then you go. He said, "Well, don't worry, we're going to bring you back." Like when he got rid of me at Somerville, he just said, "Well, don't worry, Tony. We're going to bring you back." Well, that was in 1992. I didn't see that man no more until 2006.
Well, you did have a run in '97 that you forgot about.
Yeah,
a very short one.
because of what Rocky did.
Right. All right. Well,
Labate told me what happened there. We was all sitting at a table one time, and I don't know if I can tell you exactly what was said or not.
You can say it.
Okay. We were sitting at the table, me and you all talked to Hillbilly Jim. He was at the table too. I remember Hillbilly being there. And the other guy you can ask is the Brooklyn Brawler, because he was the guy it was said to. Where Rocky was going around getting merchandise.
Really?
WWE merchandise. He was putting it in his bag.
Yeah.
He was putting it in his bag.
Mm-hmm.
Rocky Johnson.
Yeah.
So he was walking around with 3 hats on his head. 3. 3 hats. And so we was at the table. He sat there with them 3 hats on his head. And so Steve was working with the office at that time.
Right.
He was in the ring, but he was also half office, half boy, you know?
This was
Macho.
Just so the fans understand what we're talking about, Tony, to give them a background on the time period. This is March of 1997. The Rock, when he was known as Rocky Maivia, was christened the future of the company. He was given the Intercontinental title, and he was put into a program with the Sultan, managed by Bob Backlund in the Iron Sheik. Right. And then they brought you back sitting in the crowd on a couple of episodes of Raw in March of 97. Rocky came out, and then you go from there to tell us what happened behind the scenes. Well,
we was in the dining room because you know they have a catering there.
You wanted the meal.
We was in catering and we're sitting there eating. Hillbilly Jim was at the table, and I know Rocky was at the table, and a couple more of the guys was at the table. Well, Steve Labate, Brooklyn Brawler, said something to Rocky because of the hats.
What did he say?
He said, "Well, Rocky, you know the guy that in charge of merchandise, he got to count for that." Which means they know how many hats he got. Mm-hmm. So let's say if he got 20 hats and he sell 10 hats, but he only turned in 5 hats. Well, now he got to explain to Vince what happened with the other 5 hats. Mm-hmm. So that comes out of his pocket. That's what Lobato tried to explain to Rocky. You can't take that stuff without signing for it. Mm-hmm. Rocky was just grabbing stuff, throwing it into his bag.
Because it was free.
No, it wasn't. If it was free,
it was free for him.
Right, but you have to sign for it. So the guy had to account for every shirt, every hat. He had to account for it.
Mm-hmm.
When Rocky is taking stuff, when the guy's not even there, and the guy don't even know who took it. So Steve saw Rocky. So Steve came up to the lunch table to talk to Rocky about it. Rocky, he said, Rocky, and then they got into a little argument. And then Steve made a mistake and said, well, that's why you're not here now. That's what Steve said to Rocky. That's why you're not here now. Where Rocky said, the only reason you here is because you suck in Vince's dick.
Well,
that's what he said. And all of a sudden, we raised up from the table, and then I came back the following week, and then the body came up to me. This before I knew I was done. He said, Tony, I hate to tell you this, but this is the first time that you lose your job when it wasn't your fault. Yeah.
Well, that must have been a disappointment for you.
Real disappointment. That's why they had Rocky to jump into the ring. I was supposed to be the one to jump into the ring, not Rocky.
Well,
see?
I'm sure there was going to be more than meets the eye with that one.
Alpha could tell you more of the anger because Alpha knew more about it than I did because Alpha got it from The Rock. The anger was I was supposed to jump in the ring at that night and save The Rock because if you look at me back in them days, I was still in real good physical shape.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so they wanted me to jump in to save The Rock and make out like I'm The Rock friend.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was supposed to attack The Rock. And I said, I carry your dad. Your dad is this. Your dad, because people knew about the heat between me and Rock.
Right.
So eventually, we're going to make it into an anger. And I was supposed to turn on The Rock. Then I was supposed to turn on the old man. So what's supposed to end up happening? Me and The Rock supposed to have a match, and they wanted me to put him over.
I think that would have been a good little angle.
Yeah. And then they were going to just have me to put him over around, and that's what the way Alpha told him. But Rock Johnson, he knew about it, and Rock didn't like the angle, so Rocky did everything to mess it up.
Oh, purposely.
On purpose.
Well, very interesting, Tony. I'm going to maybe let you on a little tidbit. I know.
Well, what Alpha told me, Alpha said they was mad that Vince was going to shoot the angle with me and not him.
He wanted to work his own son?
He wanted to get back in the business. After we dropped the title, Vince never used him for nothing.
Yeah, he was almost.
Think about it.
He was dead at that point.
After we dropped the title, Vince never brought that guy back.
Well, Tony, I think you're going to find this interesting. I know we had spoken about it on one of our in-studio talk shows that Rocky Johnson had released an autobiography not long before he passed away, but it was never released in bookstores. There was some kind of some issue that I'm not even sure what it is, but I was able to obtain a copy of this book that's not sold in stores of any way, any kind. I'm going to go through the book, and where you mentioned so much in the book, you and I are going to discuss the happenings in the book on a future episode of the show. So I think that'll be interesting.
Yes, it will, because I'd like to know what Rocker said.
Yes.
Because I forgave Rocky. I forgave Rocky. And there's another guy that I forgave too. His name was Tiger Conway Jr.
Why did you forgive Tiger Conway Jr.?
He did the same thing to me that Rocky did
He
to me.
tried stranding you in buildings down in Houston.
Right. With one of the best paid promoters in the world, Paul Bosch.
Paul Bosch, that's right.
Yeah, he left me. He left me at the hotel, and a young wrestler, if he's still living, God bless him. His name was Gary Young.
Mm-hmm.
A bow-legged guy, got red hair and a mustache. Gary Young was his name. Very real bow-legged, a white guy. And Gary Young was calling to leave a message for me. And the lady said, well, he's sitting right here. And Gary Young on the phone said, well, what the hell are you doing there? He's supposed to be in Beaumont. So he said, can I talk to him? She said, yeah. So Gary said, Tony, you're supposed to be gone. And I said, well, I'm waiting on Tiger. He said, Tony, if they ain't pick you up by now, they ain't going to pick you up. They gone. So he said, what? He said, I'll be right there to get you. He was off that night. Lucky for me, he was off.
Oh, wow.
So he got in the car. It was about an 80-mile drive, so about an hour and a half on a good day. He did it in about 1 hour.
Wow.
I mean, he flew. About 1 hour in the old pickup truck there. And when we got there, Tiger Conway Jr., and his father, Tagger Sr., were dressed getting ready to go into the ring. And I got, by the grace of God, I got there just before they left the dressing room.
Really?
I told Paul Bosch what happened. Paul Bosch told me this that I always remember. He said, Tagger is not responsible for you being here. You are responsible. He said, you should have took the van and went to the airport and got a rental car and drove here. Which was true.
It's true.
But I didn't know. I wasn't that smart then
You
to do
weren't hip
these
to the
type of
blade,
things.
right?
Right. I was so used to people doing what they say they're going to do. I did not do that. Another guy that done me like that, believe it or not, was Dusty Rhodes.
Dusty Rhodes did it to you.
Dusty Rhodes did that to me, believe it or not.
Where did he strand you?
He fled in Tampa.
He was supposed to give you a ride in Tampa?
Well, this is what happened. They was getting a lot of calls for me to come back. I mean, because that TV was going everywhere. I mean, if you on TBS back in them days, it went into 48 different states. The only states it didn't go into was Alaska and Hawaii. Mm-hmm. But everywhere else, you went into it. So anyway, people would see me every week. I mean, we was on every week. Right. And so people wanted to see Tony Atlas. I mean, they never saw a person built like that. If you listen to Vince McMahon talk, he always say this about me. That Tony Atlas moved like a cat.
Yeah.
Now, you got a guy with 23-inch arms, a 60-inch chest, and a 30-inch waist, and doing drop kicks and flying around like Jimmy Snuka. It was another phenomenal person. Muscles all over him and flying around like like Rey Mysterio. Mm-hmm. When you look at Jimmy Snuka, he's just a big muscle-bound version of Rey Mysterio, but the size of a man doing that. So that was impressive. So people wanted to see me. So anyway, Dustin was on the car in the Omni. Mm-hmm. He was on the car. And I kept asking Dustin. I said, Dustin, what did I do when I get there? He kept saying, don't worry about it. Just check in the hotel. I'll be there. It's a La Quinta, right by the airport. Check into the La Quinta. Your room, if they be paid for, I'll be there to pick you up. Just wait there for me. Don't go nowhere. I said, don't worry, Dustin. I'll be there. Mm-hmm. So I checked into the La Quinta. I checked in there. Dustin never showed up.
Really?
And then when I flew back the next day, they said, Tony, how come you didn't make the show? I said, I was at the hotel. I waited for Dustin. He never showed up. Well, you know who they're going to believe over top of. They believe Dustin. Dustin said he looked all over for me, couldn't find me. He said the lady at the desk told him I went to the gym. So they always use that excuse when they want to fuck me. Well, I think Tony went to the gym. He's not there. He's gone to the gym.
Well, again, I don't know how.
The third person doing to me was Rocky Johnson.
So Rocky, Dusty, and Tiger Conway Jr.
Right.
All right. Well, Tony, I have no idea how we got on that topic. As usual with these shows,
how we got on the topic, we were talking about Vince firing all these people from the WWE.
And Tiger Conway Jr.
And I say it was the wrestler's fault. We put ourselves in that position because Vince used us to destroy other territories.
Well,
and we helped him. We helped him put Bill South out of business. We helped put Ted Turner out of business. We helped Vince put Vern Gagne out of business. We helped him put Barnett out of business. We helped him put all these people out of business.
So that's why all these talents got released today, because you and Junkyard Dog helped put territories out of business.
And Hulk Hogan and everybody else.
All right.
I said the only guy that is not on that list is Ric Flair and Sting.
Well, then you heard it from the Hall of Fame.
Rick went there for a little while, but Rick stayed with WCW. There would have never been no WCW if WCW would have 40 years ago if Sting hadn't stayed.
All right. Well, Tony, let's talk about a couple of these talents just to get a little of your input. A fellow Hall of Famer, Kurt Angle, a man he hasn't had a match now in a year. He was making a substantial amount of money to work behind the scenes. Are you surprised to see someone like Angle get his walking papers today?
No.
You think it was a way to save money?
No, well, not so much that. You talked about it a lot too on Boston Wrestling yourself. The world is very competitive now.
Yeah.
Vince got phenomenal talent just sitting around. They're like that would probably never get a break. Like Tom Brady retiring from the Patriots, I think it's great. he can't do no more than what he did. I mean, he probably can, but he got all he's going to, give another guy a chance. I remember even in the older days, Vince Sr. was like that. He kept old guys around forever. Like Lou Albano. And I used to wrestle some of these guys. I used to hate it because I want to get in the ring and try to do my thing. And then he gave me something like Bob, what got
Baron McKell Cicluna.
Yeah. That don't take bumps, no bumps. When you hit him, he grab his ear. I hit him in the stomach, he grab his ear. I hit him in the head, he grab his ear. I headbutt him, he grab his ear. You remember that?
Yep.
And he never took a bump until the finish.
Well, he wanted it to be a big
how
finale.
You gonna have a match with a guy? How you gonna have a match with a guy that don't take bumps?
It would make it difficult. So you're not surprised at someone like Angle hitting the road?
Yeah, you see, when you look at the life expectancy of some of these guys, like you mentioned this one guy, I know he was there way back when I was there, 2008. Shoot.
On the list from today?
Yeah.
Jack Ryder?
Jack Ryder. Hey, that's a long run, bro.
He had a good run. He has a
hell of a run. Because I was there with him in 2008.
Yeah.
So you talk about a good 12 years that run that he had there. Finley, he was there before me. Finley got a good 15, 16 years out of that.
He actually came over in the transition from WCW. So you're talking about 19 years outside of a few months.
19 straight years of making money, bro.
He was with us in the MWF down the road at Memorial Hall during that little absence he had.
Yeah. See, a wrestler could stay around longer in the older days because television was syndicated. Yeah. It was not cable. So you could wrestle in Georgia for 2 years, leave Georgia, and go to New York, and you brand new.
Yep.
You can leave New York and go to Texas, you brand new. But now when you on WWE, you on TV for more than 5 years, you known everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your life expectancy is not as long. Some of the guys, like Undertaker, and it's good that, even John Cena, people was getting tired of Cena after a while. Look, Cena is gone. Nobody misses him.
Well, I don't think anyone needs to be on TV every week, but that's just my opinion.
But the thing about John Cena ain't been on there in years. Nobody missed him.
I don't think that's true. The ratings go up.
Well, yeah, when he make his appearance, but the show goes on even if even if he never come back. When The Rock left, the show went on and the ratings, everything, nothing changed that much. You may get that little bump, for people fans that hadn't seen him in a while, you get a little bump for a little while, but then it normally itself back out again. Yeah. Because now with TV, your life expectancy is not as long no more because of the only reason Undertaker is still around because you very rarely see him.
Yeah, and that works to his benefit.
Yeah, it's kind of like even at the convention. Remember we was at the convention with the Iron Sheik? I mean, his line never slowed down.
Yeah.
Because the Sheik was out of circuit for what, like 5, maybe 10 years?
Since 2011, pretty much, yeah.
See what I'm saying? So for about 10 years, nobody could see or get an autograph from the Sheik. So that built his
value.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were excited to see him. Let's just
and Vince know he need a change. Plus, they're not doing house shows right now.
They're not doing any live events right now, so that's another predicament.
So no use keep these guys. And plus, he got all these guys at the training school just itching for a chance.
Much cheaper.
I wouldn't say they much. Well, no, they're more expensive.
Why are they more expensive?
Because Vince got more invested. See, that's why they're more expensive now. See, in the older days, the guys came already fixed. It's kind of like you buy a car, and then you have to fix the car up before you drive, or buy a house, or fix up house. Then you have to do all this maintenance on the house before you move into it. Where the guys, these other guys, all they Vince had to do was move in. They was ready to go from jump stream. Right. So he didn't have as much invested in these guys as he do in the people he got now.
Well, I'm just talking about the nature of the contracts as far as what they're taking home for some of the names on this list. It's a big difference.
Well, it got to be over $100,000.
The guys that are in the training center?
Well, no, when they take them out of the training
Oh, no,
center.
I know. So what I'm saying is they're going to, for undercard talent right now, even on the TV shows from the empty arenas, they've been using some of the NXT talent that hasn't been prominently featured on Wednesday nights, and they're replacing them with a lot of the guys on this list. Like, for example, these two surprised me. They just re-signed, I believe, I don't know if it's true or not, but somewhere in the neighborhood of $700,000 a year each. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, they were featured in the Undertaker and AJ Styles Boneyard match at WrestleMania, the main event of the Saturday night portion of WrestleMania, and then a week, 2 weeks later, they're gone. C'est la vie. Adios. Ciao.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Well, like I said, Luke Gallows was there when he got a good 12-year run.
Well, he was gone for several years, Tony. He didn't stay as Festus. He went on to TNA in New Japan.
Yeah, but then he came back.
He came back.
Yeah. So, and he'd probably be back again.
Well, what about a guy that I thought would have been a great opponent for you in your prime, Rusev? I liked Rusev.
He died when Russia died off.
You think that was the problem with Rusev?
Yeah. He's not. Russia is not an enemy no more.
Would you like to have worked him in your prime?
Oh yeah, because back then Russia, it was right after the Cold War.
Right.
See, all that Cold War stuff worked real good the other day. That's why we had the Ivan Koloff, Nikita Koloff, and Nikolai Volkov, and Mr. Fuji. That was all a playoff of World War II. With the Japanese, and notice all the heel was always Russians or Germans or Japanese. Mr. Fuji supposed to be the sleeky Japanese, but then it's a different one. The only one that Vince left alone was 9/11. He left that one alone.
Well, not really. He went a little over the board with the Muhammad Hassan.
Well, he tried, but it didn't have the same effect as it did with the Iron Sheik.
No, definitely
with the Iron Sheik. See, the Iron Sheik with Iran, that was hot.
Yeah, no, you couldn't compare the two. You're right.
Yeah. So the 9/11 didn't play as well for, but if you noted, he created Saba Simba, hoping that would work, and it would have if he had chose somebody other than me.
People knew you.
Because it was the same time they released Nelson Mandela.
Right.
And so Vince tried to play off of that, the Nelson Mandela thing. But it didn't work because J.J. Dillon, who was working at Austin time, he was the one that came with the idea of Saba Simba. That was most of his idea. But they chose to use me. I was just too well known.
Whose idea was it to make you Saba Simba?
J.J. Dillon.
So J.J. Dillon came up with the character and decided you were the person for the character.
Right. He told me himself. Yeah.
I didn't know that. All right. Well, that's interesting.
He said the only reason it didn't work, he said you was too well known as Tony Atlas.
I think
he said when you walked through that door, everybody knew that was Tony Atlas.
I think the problem is, Tony, everyone knew that other than J.J. Dillon, I guess, when he came up with the idea.
He said he didn't know that until Vince, nobody knew it. I mean, I was gone for a while, so they figured, and he said for the moment they walked through that door, he said everybody knew that's Tony Atlas. He said because ain't too many people look like me.
Let me tell you, I must have been 9 or 10 years old when you came back as Saba Simba. I wasn't fooled for a second. I knew exactly who it was.
That what JJ told me. Yeah. And so then from that point, and Vince only kept me around to help me out.
Well,
he wanted to get it. Well, he got to get his money back out of it.
You were only there for about 4 months, Tony. It wasn't much of a run.
No. I was there longer than that. I was there probably about 8 months.
Is Saba Simba?
Yeah.
No, you're wrong. I hate to tell you, but you were wrong, buddy. You came back at the TV taping right after SummerSlam 90, so you're talking late August, and your last appearance was Royal Rumble 91. So 4 months.
No. I was still there after Royal Rumble. He just didn't use me on TV no more. I was just doing house shows.
You weren't even doing the house shows at that point, Tony.
Yeah, I did. We do
the history videos every day, and you're not in them.
You sure?
I'm 100% sure.
I thought it was an 8-month run.
Your last dates with them were the 2 tapings after the Royal Rumble, and they didn't even use you on those. So you did the Royal Rumble on the weekend, then the 2 TV tapings, and then you got the FedEx letter or however they did it that week when you went home to Monica.
Yeah, they put it in the mail back then.
Oh, they just put it in the regular mail.
Pat Powers submitted the mail.
All right. Well, Tony, I tell you, as all this news was breaking on social media, 14-year-old junior ambassador, Mr. Devon Brent, he said, who of some of these talents that were released today are you and Tony going to bring into the MWF? I said, well, you know what? When I talk with Tony later on today, I'll run some ideas by him, Tony. A great list of talent. Obviously, a promotion such as ours wouldn't have room for all of them. But I look at someone like Rusev, a man that you could have had a great match with if he was in his prime back in the late 70s. Could you see him in the MWF?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. What about Leo Rush? We saw him here in the Millennium Wrestling Federation. He's been here in the studio, one of the great cruiserweights of this decade. A great mouthpiece when he managed Bobby Lashley. I know I'd love to see him back here in the MWF again much sooner than later.
I'm going to tell you that anybody that Vince release would be a great access to any independent organization, because if you're good enough to get to the WWE, then I mean, everything else after that, I mean, you already proved yourself because you was able to get yourself there. Kind of like join the Navy SEAL. Once you go through the training, you're a SEAL. Even if you don't ever, see war, you still a SEAL.
Well,
and that's how these guys are. These guys are pros. They know the travel. What the big adjustment for a lot of these guys is price.
The price, it's not WWE money anymore, right?
That's the thing they have to adjust to. They have to start adjusting to the price, because I listened to what some of the guys. I remember when I was doing Atlas Championship Wrestling up here in Maine, and I talked to a couple of guys about their price. And as you well know, for most independents, they don't have an unlimited source of money.
Correct. Very correct.
Like Vince does.
Yes.
You got a budget. Like, let's say you got a $5,000 budget.
Right.
Where all of that budget, you got to pay for the billing, you got to pay for advertisement. If you don't own your own ring, you got to rent a ring. And in some area, you have to have a doctor there, which you pay for. Or somebody there to do blood pressure and stuff in the older days. And so all of that, you may have maybe about $2,000 left to pay talent, out of that $5,000.
Right.
Now, you get one wrestler that say, I want $1,000. Now, this is one wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And then you talk to another wrestler. Now, he want $1,000. Now, you only got 2 wrestlers, but you got no more money for anybody else.
Right.
So you either got to get the other wrestler to work for free, or to work for peanuts, not even enough to pay for their gas, so that you can pay this big wig who just left big money, because he ain't coming unless he get this large amount of money. Now, I'm not knocking none of them guys, but if I was in a predicament where, I'll tell you one guy that I got a lot of respect for.
Let's hear it. Who do you have a lot of respect for, Tony?
Cactus Jack.
Why do you have a lot of respect for Cactus Jack?
He had been on several shows with me where he would not take a payday so that the other boys could get paid.
Really?
He had been known to do that.
Well, poor Mick.
The house has been bad. I remember the first time he done that, we was at a convention for Jimmy Slooker. It was a birthday party in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't turn out as well as Jimmy wanted, because he ran it on the same day as the big event in New York. He ran against another event.
Mm-hmm.
Icon or Wrestler. Either Icon or Wrestler or the big event. One of them 2 things. Because Scott Epstein was living there, and Scott was at the big convention first, and then he shot over to our convention because he had my book. He wanted to sell my book. But anyway, Cactus, Slooker didn't have enough money to pay everybody. So, but Cactus was already paid because that was in his agreement. Cactus gave his money back so that other boys could get paid. And he did it another time out in Indiana. Somewhere was at a show and it did bad and the promoter couldn't pay everybody. Another guy that was on that show, he raised holy hell. I mean, told the people go get their money back. The guy's a shyster. The guy with the tennis racket,
Jim Cornette.
Jim Cornette. Oh, he went off the deep end, brother. He wanted to kill that freaking guy. I mean, he went freaking nuts because he wasn't going to get his money. Well, anyway, Cactus told him, don't worry about it. And then I hear stories about other people where Cactus had done that with other people. Because Cactus is the type of person, he know he got money.
Yeah.
He don't need the money. Just like not calling no names. Like anybody that come to you that is making good money and got good money and want you to pay them more than $1,000. He's screwing all these other wrestlers.
That's the way you look at it, really.
Of course. Think about it. When your last show, like I said, I'm not going to call no names, you know. Your last show, for whatever that guy got, you know, a lot of, you could have got probably a couple more good talent there. It could have been something more you could have done to make the show bigger.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that one. I always go by the philosophy like this. When I did my work with Ed Cohen in WWE, he showed me how the guys get paid there based on the certain percentages. I think that's how wrestling should operate in general. What is taken in, when it's good, they should be paid substantially more. When it doesn't draw, when they're featured on it, they don't get paid as much. But
yeah, but see,
there aren't as many.
Well, they had guarantees back in them days too, but the guarantees was reasonable.
Right.
Like most of your guarantee was around $1,500 a week.
Mm-hmm.
You was guaranteed $15 a week in a lot of territory. Some territory would go as much as maybe, you know, you was guaranteed a certain amount of money per show. Like I know in Georgia, the guarantee was $50 a night. You guarantee you're going to make 50. No matter if one person shows up, you get $50. Mm-hmm. But so they had the guarantee, but like I said, the guarantee was within reason.
Yeah.
Like if a guy come to you and say he want $5,000 or $6,000 for an independent show, that guy don't care about nobody but himself.
All right. Well,
that's the stuff that hurt the independent.
Right.
And that's what's going to hurt all these guys they releasing. I don't think a lot of them going to sit home for a long time, brother.
I think everybody's going to be sitting home for a long time, but even when the shows start up again, they might be difficult for them to get some work. Because
of the prices.
And because of the supply and demand element that goes along with it. There's a lot of talent available already.
Well, see, it still boils down to prices. This is when I was promoting, this is how I looked at it. See, I look at things from the wrestler point of view, and I look at it from the promoter's point of view.
Right.
Now, let's say I was going to book you.
All right.
And you said, Tony, I need $500.
Okay, we'll go along with that.
But you live in Florida.
Right.
So right away, in my mind, you going to cost me between $1,100 to $1,200.
Because you have the airfare and the hotel.
Exactly. And transportation. And I got to take you out. If you're a good name, you know, I want to take you out to dinner like you took guys out to Carlo and stuff like that. You know, so right away, I'm thinking at least $1,000 for one wrestler. Now I got a $3,000 budget. Now out of a $3,000 budget, I only booked one person. I'm down to $2,000 already.
Right. It's the reality of the situation.
Right. See, I don't just look at how much I'm getting. I look at how much this person is costing me altogether. Like if I come down and work for you, you said, Tony, I give you 500. You said, yeah, but I want a hotel too. So right there, you said, oh, Tony want $650.
Right. Yeah.
Because hotels in Boston is about $150 a night. You can't get in a hotel in Boston for $100 no more.
It's very hard. Very,
it's
hard.
It's very hard to find a hotel for $100 anywhere in the Boston area, right? Or in a major city, Boston, New York, Washington, no matter where you go. So you're going to pay anywhere between $120 to $150 for one night hotels. So right away, my $500 just shot up to $650. You know? Well, so that's how I look at it when I work with people. Because what I'm telling him is how much I'm getting, but when he add up all his expenses to go along with me, it costing that promoter a lot more than $500.
Right. All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see how the immediate future in independent wrestling reacts once the quarantine way of life is over and we get to some back of normal ways. I don't know when that is going to be. The president has spoken about the summertime. I've read articles in the New York Times that said it could be as late as the fall of 2021. So there's a lot of unknowns. Do you have any advice, Tony, for these great talents that were released today about their immediate futures? You have been released from WWE many times. What would you tell some of these younger talents that have never been in that predicament?
The smartest wrestler, with the exception of Mark Henry and Kane, wrestling as Johnny Weaver would put it. The biggest problem with wrestlers, they don't think about anything but wrestling. Shelton Benjamin, when he was there, I used to ask him, was he's going home? He said, no. I said, where you going? He said, I'm going to school. I said, what, you ain't finished high school yet? I'm just being a smart ass, know?
Right.
He said, no. He said, I'm taking classes. See? I would tell any wrestler that had been released from WWE is go to school now. Bother yourself for something else. Because if it happened to you one time, it's going to happen again.
Now, did Johnny Weaver say that before or after he beat Penny Banner?
I don't know about all that, but I did. I used to ride with Johnny a lot, and a lot of stuff he said was true. So when Johnny left, he already had a degree in criminal justice.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, that's where he worked for the sheriff's department when he died.
That's what I was just going to say. Didn't he wind up working for a sheriff's office or something?
Yeah, exactly. He got a degree in criminal justice. Him and Johnny Heineman was going to school to take up stuff. And Sandy Scott did the same thing. And look at Kane. I remember Kane used to sit in the dressing room all the time, taking classes on the computer.
Well, and the funny thing is, Tony, look at some of the age ranges of the guys that got released. You have someone like Leo Rush, who, again, I would like to see him back here in the MWF. He's 25. You have guys in their 40s like Angle, and I don't want to say too many names that might have hit the big 4-0 by now, but there's a big age range in these guys that were released today, Tony. So you have some on the younger end of the spectrum, and you have some who might be closer to the end of their wrestling careers than they are the beginning of it, much like yourself.
Yeah. Well, you see, that's what I did on my last run. Mm-hmm. My last run with Vince, I said, I'll probably never get an opportunity to put my wife in a house. So I took advantage of it while I was there. What the guys should do, even this is go for the guys that are there, take advantage of things while you got the opportunity. Get yourself involved in something else. Because one thing about wrestling that always reared me out, the best way to go back to the WWE is to show them you don't need them.
Then they want you all the more.
That always been like that. Once they know you need them, but once you show Vince, see, that's why they was always scared of guys getting involved in other stuff, because they figure you could leave the business and go and make somebody else money.
Right.
So they used to always try to book me on days that I'm supposed to go to a bodybuilding contest, because they figure I'm going to quit wrestling and become a bodybuilder. Just like The Rock did it. He got into the movies. He never looked back at our wrestling. Earl Maynard did that. What were they? Edge Crusher, Strangler Lewis. One of the other guys became an actor for years. Toru Tanaka.
Professor Toru Tanaka.
Yeah. Once he got into the movies, he never looked back, at wrestling again.
He was in
and there was a lot of
Big
guys that
Adventure,
moved
wasn't
from. Yeah, and there's a lot of actors that moved from the acting business into politics and other stuff. Like Jesse Ventura, once he left wrestling, he never came back for autograph signing or nothing. He found something else. He used that name he made in wrestling to get involved in something else where he had a little bit more control, because ain't no wrestler ever going to have control of his career. You're never going to have control.
Well, I know your buddy, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, still resents the fact that he wasn't allowed to do the movie Rambo with Sylvester Stallone. He thinks he really could have taken off if he got that part, but WWF didn't want him to do it.
Well, they had their reasons.
Yeah.
They had their.
Do you know the reason?
Well, Paul was kind of like me. He was a hothead.
Yeah, he needed his sleep.
Yeah, well, he was a hothead, and Vince, they didn't put him in that part because they didn't want him to go fucking it up.
You think he could have caused problems for Rambo?
He would have caused problem. Of course he would have.
Really?
Oh yeah. He was very temperamental guy. He was very temperamental. And you know, these people that they wasn't going to put up. See, us wrestlers able to get away with a lot of stuff in the dressing room with promoters. But when you get out in the other world,
Tinseltown.
Yeah.
Hollywood,
yeah. You can't be uncouth. You know, you have to have a little decency to you. And these guys, they had no boundaries when it come to screwing girls. I mean, you know, in my day, there was no boundaries when it come to women. You know, they mouths. You know, no, they knew what they was doing. They didn't let them do it.
All right. Well, we'll have to ask.
Vince was not going to put anybody out there to embarrass his company, because when we used to get things in the olden days, like let's say I found a good gym to work out, or a good restaurant to eat at, or a good hotel to stay at. The old timers, I can hear them now. Don't tell the other boys, because one of them will mess it up for all of us.
And that happens even now sometimes, but even more prevalent back then. Yeah,
exactly. Right. So Vince put certain people into things that he knew was not going to screw it up for future people. See, putting Paul Orndorff in it, Paul was just looking at that one time. Vince was looking at, hey, this is something, if nobody mess it up, that I could keep going for a while.
All right. Well, very interesting. That's why we like to have you around, Tony. My God.
He's going to pick people to put in there that he know. Why do you think he did not put me in nothing?
Very true. You would have been more worried about having some of the production assistants walk on you than being in the movie itself.
No, Vince told me out his own mouth. He said, you give it to Tony, he's fucking up anyway.
And you know what? Back in that time in your life, you probably would have.
I would have.
You probably would have. You're right.
Because I was just like Paul. I had that very bad temper, and my temperament came from the steroids.
Even though you were taking them in small doses?
It don't matter. It builds your testosterone level. Yeah, steroids it hypers you. So when you get angry, it's double. Everything is double. That's how you're able to move so much weight. It hypers you. So if you're a hyper person by nature anyway, and you take something else that hypes you up,
it makes it even worse. Yeah,
it makes it even worse. That's right. Well, I had a bad temper. I had a bad temper anyway. But then when I did the juice, I mean, it really got worse. I mean, you know, guys didn't even want to go in the dressing room with me. I mean, I hear a lot of stories about how I were. Now, Chief Jay Strongbow, God rest his soul, he told me, he said, Tony, if you were just half as nice as you are now, you would have so much money. You would have made so much money in this business, you would need wheelbarrows to carry it on.
I thought you said when you were on the gas, you'd take it for a month, you'd let it cycle itself out of your system for a second month, and then you'd take 4 months off.
Yeah, but you got 2 months of hell for me.
So there were 2 months out of the year you were really bad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now I understand it better. All right, Tony, we only have a few minutes left in this episode, so the fans at home know that are unable to leave the house unless they're doing their social distance food shopping. We're going to hopefully, you and I are going to do another couple episodes today. As far as the great talent today goes, Tony, I don't know. You spoke about Lio Rush. You spoke about No Way Jose, Eric Rowan, Rusev, Zack Ryder. Even the Kanellises or the Bennetts is perhaps people you'd like to see here in the MWF. One person that stands out to me, Tony, that surprised me was Mike Rotundo, IRS. He's the father of not only Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, but Bo Dallas in WWE. Do you think a great mind like Mike Rotundo could make his way back to WWE, or perhaps another promotion in need of a great producer/agent?
No.
Why is that?
Mike Rotundo been there since, he was there with me at Junkyard Dog, so he been there since the 90s.
Well, he debuted with the promotion in the 80s, but he left a few times.
Yeah, but pretty much he been there since the 90s, pretty much.
He left, he went to WCW for a while to wrestle, and he eventually came back as an agent, I think in the late 2000s.
Yeah, but you see, this is what Mike should do.
What should Mike do? Let's hear it.
Go home.
Go home.
His son grew up without his father. His wife lived without a husband for years.
You think he should enjoy the fruits of his labor?
Yes, that man got more money than you can shake a stick at. He got a great name. He would do great on the independent circuit. He got enough money to start his own little company or something. He's set. See, that's what's wrong with a lot of us guys. We don't know. I'm staying out there, not because I want to, it's because I have to. I didn't save my money. If I saved my money at my age, I wouldn't go nowhere.
All right.
I'd give me a nice little business or something. He could buy himself a nice little franchise or something. Think about his wife. We love it. Think about all the nights that woman stayed by herself while he's on the road. All the nights alone. A lot of nights that these wives go through. See, people, they always look at the wrestler, but they're not looking at the sacrifices these wives are making.
The entire family. The entire family. You're right. Yeah,
the entire family. I mean, they barely know. And I watched the face, like when Vader died, I watched the face on his son, and he gave me a look like, man, you know my dad better than I do.
He felt you knew Leon better than he did.
Yeah, and all the kids, and Ronnie Piper's son felt the same way when I talked to him. I mean, when I talked about their father, they listened to me like this is the first time they're hearing this, like I was talking about someone they never met. Did we know each other better than our family know each other? Because we spend more time, Mike Rotundo spent more time with Vince than he did with his wife.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, you're probably right about that.
So if you had that much of a career, he wrestled from all through the 90s, the 80s, the 90s, 2000, and he got 20 years out of the turn of the century. This guy got about a good straight, 40, almost 50 years into the business.
You think he needs to enjoy life a little bit?
Yeah, just do the independence now. He should be happy. He had a hell of a run. If he didn't save money out that long run, shame on him.
All right, Tony, we talked about some of the great talent, the agents. It's who knows if there's been even more talent released since we even started recording this episode this afternoon. We hope the best for the talent. We hope they wind up in good spots. Hopefully the industry can get back on its feet much sooner than later. We're able to have live events with fans that can actually come in and enjoy wrestling as opposed to just watching it on TV or online. And everybody winds up with a full-time job again. Is that safe to say?
Oh, yeah. With these guys, there's a lot of places they go. You got Japan and you got stuff like that. But the thing about wrestling in the future, Vince made a good move by lowering his roster, because the way that I see it, it's going to be at least a year before people feel comfortable enough to go into big arenas again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to save that for a second episode, but I don't think you're necessarily wrong. All right, Tony, we're running out of time now. Again, if any of these great athletes want to speak to the Hall of Famer about coming in, being part of the show, being part of the live events, hit them up. As always, Tony is available for personal drawings. We have the link on our Twitter page at MWF Project X. Tony right now could use a little love himself, for his personal training hasn't been in existence because of the virus shutdown. His personal appearances have been nil. It's a great way to be able to get a piece of art for your home from a Hall of Famer, and Tony is going to have other great initiatives on eBay where he can talk to fans on the phone. We're going to be talking more about that. Don't forget, every day we're back to doing some of those great New England history videos where we can relive the good old days of professional wrestling from yesteryear as we try, hopefully, to get ready for our Back to the 80s WrestleFest event here in the Millennium Wrestling Federation. We'd love to have it in 2020, believe me. In addition to that, every Friday we're going to start to do a Flashback Friday when we look into the archives of our great studio shoot interview collection. We had a great segment with the Iron Sheik last week when he shared his thoughts on Hulk Hogan and Bob Backlund winning and losing the WWF at the time championship. This Friday, we're going to go into the DVD of the man Tony and I spoke of earlier today, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. That'll be interesting. Again, follow us across our social media platforms. Tony, we're going to be back with another great episode. It's going to be fantastic. Fans at home, we continue to wish you well. We want you to stay healthy, try and stay sane. We have over 2,000 free videos on the YouTube. Check them out, and we'll meet up soon. Be well.